All right, and we are rolling. Hello, humans, and hello to all those non-humans and ascended master humans also watching. Gita Rose here. Thank you for tuning in. This is another episode of Gabbing with Gita. Today, I am joined with Kelly Broderick. Kelly Broderick is a transformative coach and vision architect. She activates clarity and vision and guides personal transformation for healing of the human conditioning and the fear and separation paradigm. Kelly believes that the key to our collective evolution is within us all, individually choosing for our lives to be the expressions of our own unique selves. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kelly. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really good. Thank you. How are
Oh,
you?
good. Oh, I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited and happy to have you here as well. Likewise, it's really fun to be able to connect with you in this way. Um, we actually met because you booked a session with Bella. And then I think we followed each other on Facebook, and I've been aware in watching you over the last, I don't know, it was almost like 2 years ago, I think, that you booked a session,
Yeah,
or a year ago. It was a while ago.
yeah. Beginning of
And
2019.
oh, super
Yeah.
cool. Um, yeah, maybe get a little bit closer to the mic again too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there you go. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I've really noticed the last few years this blossoming of you sharing your services in different ways, and the level of consistency. You do like your live talks, right? Like every day, every day, every day you get on and you have like this moment of sharing, whether it's something that you've formulated or you're just kind of going off the cuff, and it's just so fun to see you doing it in that way. So, in your own words, who is Kelly and what are the services that you provide? And yeah, just introduce yourself and I'll pass you the mic.
Okay, beautiful. So I feel like I'm a communicator. I like to observe the world and observe who we are and communicate about that. And I work in the realm of personal transformation, and I'm really interested and passionate about the fusion of all the worlds, whether
Mm,
it's personal, business, spiritual, emotional, and bringing them all together and fusing them and allowing this synthesis of all the paths and what makes us truly human
mm,
come together. And I feel that that is really how we're all going to evolve. And it's so, in the context of my services, I would say I work one on one with people. I'm formally a transformative coach. And a transformative coach is one that helps beings evolve from the inside out. So, working on their fears, their mental patterns, and just working with the inner realms. But I also like to work very much on a spiritual level and helping people balance their transformation in all areas. So, on their spiritual level, emotional level, mental level, importantly, and then that trickles out into the physical reality.
mm,
And also feel really passionate about working with people who have projects, businesses, and who want to create transformative spaces and initiatives for other people to heal, to grow, to transform, and
mm.
to, yeah, bring something really different into the world right now.
Yeah, beautifully said. I love that. And I really get the feeling and the resonance from you that you're able to bring perhaps some of this paradigm of new age or spirituality, or even a bit of the hybrid frequency, kind of like into more of like the quote unquote mainstream world, that you might really have this ability to really help people that have maybe never heard of these concepts in more of like business settings, to kind of just like, here, let's bring it all together. Am I correct in kind of feeling that level of a bit of your expertise, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like that's what it's really all about is this spiritual nature or this. It kind of feels even weird to say spiritual because really there is no such thing as spiritual. It is just our nature and what we truly are. And I feel that it's the foundation, it's the heart of everything.
Mm,
So you do need to bring it in and you can choose whatever Trojan horse you want to choose to bring it in. But I really feel that it's the core.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, and it's all of us stepping forward in all of our different ways of utilizing the permission slips, the tools, or I love the idea of the Trojan horse, because there is a level of especially perhaps too when we are connecting with people in very kind of mainstream business models, of kind of giving them a hook or giving them a gimmick or give them something to dangle the carrot of, okay, and now that means you're going to dive deeper into, if you want to make more money in your business or whatever, it's going to, evolve diving deeper. But what's really fascinating too is I think that was perhaps more of the truth 6 months ago. I think now in the age that we're in this perhaps level of this grand awakening, it's part of the grand design that people are seeing things in a different level, like um that construct perhaps of the mainstream has like split or like crumble, right? It's part of the glory of this experience. So um how has 2020 been for you so far, whether it be personally, or what things have you noticed perhaps in your business or in your services interacting with the mainstream as it's shifting? So yeah, what's 2020 been like for you so far?
Part of me feels a little bit bad saying this because I know it's been a bit of a hectic year for a lot
Mm,
of people, but I feel like it's been the best year of my life.
mm,
And I suppose every year gets better and better, but 2020 has been an amazing year in a lot of different ways. And I feel like it's really set the stage for this next decade that we're in.
mm-hmm,
And of course, a massive part of transformation is the disintegration and the falling apart of the old,
mm-hmm,
like the burning, so to speak, so that there are ashes for the phoenix to rise from. And that is what I feel has been happening collectively.
mm-hmm,
And it's sort of a process that I went through last year. I pretty much changed everything. I had a project, a school in Vietnam, and I handed that over. I left my community and my
mm,
project and my partner and my country, and I just like
mm,
completely changed everything. Came back to Europe. So 2019 was really this process of really releasing all those old structures within me and preparing myself.
mm-hmm,
So I feel like I entered into 2020 pre prepared for this
mm,
to be able to guide other people through the process. And so I'm really grateful that I felt really anchored within myself
mm-hmm,
and within my beingness and within my consciousness in this, just stepping into 2020. And I felt really, it was definitely intense for sure, absolutely. And, but it was beautiful because once you really step and face these things and look them in the eye and just let the transformation happen, let the
mm-hmm,
fire burn, whatever it is, you always enter out on the other side so connected and so grateful and so just, yeah, so happy once you emerge out on the other side. And I
mm-hmm.
feel that although, yes, overall 2020 has been very challenging, I do feel super grateful and really happy to be for everything that I've gone through, for everything we've all gone through. And I feel that we can all do it, whatever it is that we
Mm,
want to do. And 2020 has been that wake and shake. It's
mm,
been, okay, you no longer have a choice to not be who you came here to be. I'm sorry, it's going to be intense if you really want to keep choosing that. And time to really just decide that you're ready to step into who you're here to be. So 2020
mm-hmm,
has been like that really big invitation for everyone. And it's been, I think for me as well, like an invitation on a greater level.
mm.
Okay, step more into it. And yeah, it's been overall, it's been really great.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I'm curious how it's been for you,
Oh,
2020.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for sharing all of that. And I feel like there's quite a few of us that resonate with that level of true grace or excitement or wonder at 2020. I think there's quite a few of us that are on that side of being like, whoa, this is, I like feel guilt saying this, but this has been one of the best years of my life. I think there's quite a few of us that are on that side, those of us listening. And for me, it has been the same. Um, I was able to not need to work at the restaurant that I was at anymore, for circumstances out of my control. And then I was able to be in communication with the restaurant of like, hey, and then things worked out in an effortless way where really there were other people that needed the position more than me. So I never quit. I was never fired. I'm still kind of technically in the limbo zone with the restaurant, which then allows me to still be yeah, just so many little details have all fit into place. And then Ruben Langdon's series Interview with Extra Dimensionals aired for its second season on Gaia, and my episode was released on that, which brought a lot more people um, to Bella's awareness, I guess. A lot more people knew about me and Bella, and then have been connecting with us. So it's really just been this beautiful springboard of a year of really being able to just do things that I want to be able to do, and to play with different ideas of quote unquote like playing by the rules. I've had a lot of fun with that, regardless of what I may think about the virus, of where it has originally come from, or all this kind of stuff. There's a level of honestly, I think it comes from it does come from me and my integrity, but also a level of like the protocol that gets kind of disseminated from the hybrids. It's like, no, you have to quote unquote play by the rules. Like, you are creating this. So I've had a lot of fun with kind of sheltering in place, or being able to be very internal or not traveling. I've been really holding that kind of like in this really sacred, sweet place. And yeah, I'm very much in a similar boat as you, that it's been one of the best years of my life so far, and being able to so deeply see like, oh, we knew that this was going to happen, we knew things were going to, yeah, oh, okay, we're here, oh, this is what it's going to look like. We didn't know what it was really going to look like. But we knew things are going to start to crumble, things are going to start to burn, things are going to start to fall apart. But we just didn't know what exactly it looked like. And now that we're like, oh, okay, I think we're more so here. I think we have an idea of what it's looking like. We're then able to really step into our services and our ability to shine that level of knowingness, whether it's with clients or whether it's with the individual that we're at the grocery store with, of bringing up our food, of just being that beacon. And for me, it's been this really interesting dichotomy of really owning. For me, this has been amazing. This has been so free and so fluid. And I'm so grateful and appreciative of the work that I have done to be in this level of alignment, to see this reality, like not being in guilt of receiving the joy and the outright ecstasy. And then that really allows me, when I really feel those places, I've noticed that really, really allows me to really feel the depths of the density and contrast that people are really going through, to honor how dark it really is. For some people and for some experiences, really allows me to be and recently I've been talking about this more and more. I'm like looking for the paradox in everything that I can. I'm like, oh, if I go deeper, that's going to bring me all the way to the light. I'm like sniffing it out. And so that's been my realization is being brave enough to really honor the true emotions of things and the true polarity of experience, and not kind of being somewhere in the middle. That's where I feel we're really being called right now, is to enter into that level of authenticity and expression of our emotions. And it is challenging sometimes to be like, there's all that guilt and all that kind of interesting stuff that comes up when we're like, oh, but this is the moment that I came here for. Like, we're here. And yeah, and I think even those of us that are on that path, it's a challenge. How has been that for you? Has that come up in different ways for you, that guilt?
Not so much,
Nice.
if I'm honest, although I did say I feel a little bit bad saying 2020 was the best year of my
Mm-hmm.
life. But I do feel that in some ways, some people would say that we're lucky to be
Mm,
experiencing it like this. But I do feel that this is the result of a lot of hard work and a lot of
mm,
years of really choosing this. And if I look back, I feel that I've totally been through the ringer in the last five,
mm,
6, 7 years to get here. And I don't feel bad as well now I'm tuning into it because I know that on the other side it's going to be beautiful
mm-hmm.
for those who are experiencing the negativity right now.
Yeah.
I really know that it's going to be just so amazing for them
Mm,
and for everyone that's going through, yes, the darkness.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's really beautiful actually.
Yeah, it
So
is.
yeah,
And
I do.
I think that's so powerful. And I think it's from that place that we can use our essence, use our perspectives in ways, in every, like I was saying, in every action and everything that we do, to be able to to be that light and that reminder of pushing through the experience of limitation, of the contrast, and that very real experience of it for some people. And this enters into like this really kind of like opens the door for a whole perhaps different like philosophical and level of like morality kind of questioning. But one thing that I have been finding really interesting and looking at, again, there's always the paradox, it's always both, and like looking at it in all of these different intricate ways, that I think there is a level of a very real truth in terms of privilege, um, and in terms of being able to just be at a certain standing, whether it's within your soul emergence of your incarnation, right, from the source of God, right? Some people, I do think it happens where it just, you know, you come out a little bit closer to source, you just have a little bit more of the memory of the essence, and then it gets carried through in all of these different ways. And I'm kind of touching on the, you know, ideas such as Black Lives Matter, or the ideas of classism, or things like that, which, again, in my perspective of how I look at things, it doesn't matter what's really true, or what level is propaganda, or what level is this or that or whatever. It's what do we do with it? And again, it kind of goes back to this paradoxical ownership of like, yes, we have made the choices and been through the darkness of our souls and had these alignments, and it's not luck, but then also at the same time it kind of is, right? Like it kind of is just like, well, this is the part that you get to play, and you did in your society, you're, you know, this is the part that you are. And it does kind of put you at a slightly different perspective, or you've just had these experiences. And so for me, at least, because I think it's important for those of us within the kind of new age community to be brave enough to be like, no, it's this and that, and there's this nuance, and there's this level here, and like, yes, we've totally striven and done, and it is beautiful, you know, and that transformation is what we're here for. And then also being brave enough to acknowledge experiences that are really difficult and really, really dense. And again, through that experience, through us um, shining the light on that level of separation, a true type of separation, is then what really allows the unity and gives people the power to remember that they are themselves, right? It's like by honoring, be like, no, this isn't quote unquote fair. You got, yeah, you put a really interesting aspect of the blueprint buffet on your plate, and then also like this is the story of like what it is that we've incarnated, and in my experience it is through a level of the honoring of that that then allows us to be to really be able to help people. So I'm just kind of riffing because this has been my past, the last few months of looking all of this stuff that's appearing in our reality and going like, whoa, okay, like what do I really think about all of this? um so yeah, I'm curious, how has it been for you navigating the waters of these more subtle ideas within our society that's arising right now?
Cool. That's so interesting because this has really been a theme I've been working through the last couple of months. Like you were saying, the paradoxes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really seeing that it just isn't black or white. There's just no such thing. It's really a whole different shades of
Mm-hmm.
gray. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different types of grays. Like that is literally
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And oh, my puns are always intended, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and I just feel that what I feel for me is when I'm having this awareness of the dichotomy, and I'm really just like, whoa, what I'm feeling is actually it's my conditioning that's getting disrupted. It's the
Mm,
conditioning that's very black or white. It's very
mm,
right or wrong, or is this the way it's supposed to be or not supposed to be? And what I'm realizing is maybe it's not supposed to be any of these ways.
mm,
And actually, I'm starting to see that when I experience this, I don't know how to describe it, but when you experience these what the fuck moments where you're
mm,
just like completely stopped,
mhm,
these moments of disruption are actually very powerful
mhm,
because they're the moments where it stops your mental programming, it stops the pattern, it stops the route your consciousness is currently
mm,
expressing itself at, and it
mm,
stops it. And what happens in that space is that's when you're able to expand. When something really stops you in your tracks and you're able to you just have this disruption,
mm,
and that's when we're able to expand and then evolve onto a new elevation.
mhm,
So I've actually been appreciating all this gray because it's just been a constant reminder this black and white thinking is what has got to go. The
mhm,
programming has got to be disrupted, and this these disruptive moments are really really powerful in serving us
mm,
to expand.
mm,
So I think that's kind of what's happening collectively for society is these whole load of these disruptive occurrences and moments, and it's sort of like our own experiences, a microcosm of the macrocosm where we're seeing
mhm,
all these paradoxes and these things that are stopping us in our tracks, and we're just like, whoa.
mhm.
But it's like that's what's happening collectively as well. Like society is just like, whoa, like whoa.
Yes,
What, we don't know.
exactly that, and that's the energy that I've been going back to, and that I talk a lot about, and that I really utilize in my breath to breath, moment to moment, is like the ownership of we don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
We don't know. We know enough to know that we don't know. And then we can know that we need to be brave enough to sit in that unknown. And then that's where the mystery is. And that's where we find the next idea and the next idea of what we need to know. But it really is that like, and I love how like, whoa, I love how you're phrasing it. And thank you so much for being you and for your translation. And it's so sweet to just to hear you speak. I've recently I've been talking about this more too. I love just hearing people's voices. There's a fingerprint, and there's an essence, and there's a uniqueness in everyone's voice. And I love hearing the song that people bring through, and your voice is so graceful and gentle, and but yet so strong at the same time. It's just really fun to, and it gives the more and more too. I'm excited as I continue to do these podcasts that it's not so much about the words. Yes, people are eloquent and they're amazing, but really these are all kind of concepts that I think most of us listening we know, but it's about the translation and the cadence and the tone that people ring when they talk about these concepts, and then it becomes a different translation. For me, it's like I feel it in my cells, um, that it becomes this emotional, visceral, vibratory translation. And that space of when we are finding those and we align with those disruptive moments of that, whoa, like, whoa, like exactly what you're saying is so perfect for retaining that little seed, right? That is within us that allows the blossoming of fully resting in the unknown. So yeah, so just thank you again just for being you. And it's been such a wonderful, wonderful time period that we are in. And so another question too that I've been really curious about asking people, and this kind of dovetails along with the idea of voices and expression. Were you always really comfortable with speaking and being filming yourself? Like I'm curious, this is a question that I'm asking everyone about, like, did they have fear around stepping out in terms of being, in the public eye or whatever, or, quote unquote, making yourself visible? Because I think that there is an energy that we can tap into when we look at these ideas as a metaphor, as an allegory. Everyone may not have excitement about filming themselves or putting themselves on the internet or stepping forward in a service provider role, but everyone has an idea, has a passion, has something that maybe they're not expressing. And that's part of, as we're in this whoa, as we're in these unknown moments of knowing that we're brave enough to express ourselves authentically. So how was it for you stepping forward and beginning to use your voice? How was that experience for you?
That's a good question. Um, it was a massive learning journey. There was so many layers to it, and of course, I was terrified or intimidated or reached different levels of obstacles or blocks nearly all the time along the way. And I've always loved to express myself, whether it was through writing or art as a child,
Mm.
and or just sharing personally with people. So I feel that a lot of my expression got unlocked through working with people a lot,
Mm.
one on one, and teaching and just working with groups. However, the Facebook Live journey, I decided, I think around a year ago, that I was gonna go live every day. And I originally had planned to do it for 365 days, but I actually stopped at 280 or
Mm.
290. It was really interesting because when the download came, like, it was just this intuitive nudge for me one day that you should do this every day for the next year. I was like, no, like, I don't want to do that. No way. And I just put it off and it kept coming back. And I was like, oh, damn, I got to accept this. I really got to
Mm.
accept this. And I did accept it. And there's no, what a lot of people feel is that you have to prepare yourself to be ready to do something. And you can't really get ready to be ready. What you
Mm.
actually have to do is step into it, and then the work that you need to do to get ready will present itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't have decided, okay, well, I need to work on this lack belief or this assumption about myself to be able to do this. I just had to do it and work with them as they came up. And yeah, there was a lot of things around also self acceptance and judgment of myself, feeling like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like you weren't very clear, or not feeling like I communicated it good enough. But I'm really grateful for the journey actually, because
Mm-hmm.
I connected to so many wonderful people I would never have connected to. And I had so many moments where I would hear from someone completely random saying that that was a message that I needed to hear at that exact
Mm.
moment. So I would say that even if you feel that your expression is imperfect, or if it's not good enough or whatever, if it's coming from within you, like when you really feel that desire to express, it's coming through for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you really need to do is to get out of the way of what you think it needs to, how it needs to be, and just let it be how it is. And even if you feel that it's imperfect, or
Mm.
maybe no one wants to hear this, or there are so many other people talking on the internet, so I don't need to do this.
Mm.
If you truly feel that desire within you, You just need to like totally let it go, let it out, because the world needs you and your unique voice. And yeah, it if you want to speak, it's coming through you for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So to just trust and to let it rip, essentially.
Nice.
Um, no matter how messy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. No matter how messy. And I love asking this question to people because it really is, I don't think that we can hear it enough. And most of us say a variation on the same thing. We get this idea and it just is persistent in the idea. And then we go, okay, I know where this is coming from. This is the acceptance of the hero's journey, or this is my mission. If I choose to accept it, this is the call. And it becomes persistent. And there's just like, okay, 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 okay. And then that level of pushing through, of committing to it, and of knowing so deeply that it's something that we really do desire and that it is our truest true, and knowing the perfection of the imperfections and just allowing it to come through, and that it's going to shift and morph and get better. And I love the idea as well that we wouldn't have the idea if it wasn't a request from something, because we're so needed to be who we are. Again, it's nothing that we haven't heard before, and I touch on it. I think I'm going to continue touching on it in every podcast because I think it's just so, again, going back to the idea of these visceral translations that we hear and that we need from every individual, just to remind us, whatever it may be, whatever the idea is, just to utilize our voices more and our authenticity, and know that not only are we fully supported, but it's like we are the support itself. And it's so deeply needed right now for all of us to sing our songs, no matter how wabi sabi or how kind of beautifully messy it is. So thank you again just for sharing and for being you. And I'm curious, um, why or what grace did you allow yourself, or how did you realize, okay, I don't have to go 365 days. I'm good. I don't have, like, what was that experience like for you?
I was hoping you would ask me this question.
Yeah.
Um, this was this was a lesson on clarity for me.
Mm.
So what I realized is sometimes our clarity shows up and it's really powerful, but it can kind of frighten you. And was the case with me. It was just one day on a Friday. It was like, you're done doing this. It was just so clear I was done. But I was like, no, like I've committed and I've done this and I've done that. And I said I was going to do it. So there was a lot that came up around that. And so I forced myself to show up for the first day ever in 200 and I
Mm.
think it was like 285 or 86 or 87. It was like the first video where I didn't truly want to be there.
Mm.
And it was, I mean, it flowed after maybe a few minutes. One person hopped on live and needed to hear something, and then it really flowed through. But afterwards, I did it. I actually had a sore throat. It just hit me really hard, and I realized, like, whoa, I really dishonored what was actually true by trying to push through on the mental agreement. So I realized that I just had to accept this clarity and just decide. And yeah, I did it. There were so many lessons in being able to allow yourself to accept like a clarity that you think is whatever way. But yeah, I'm really glad that I just straight away was like, no, this is it. It's done. It fulfilled its
Mm.
purpose. There was, I don't know what the purpose was. There's so many elements to it. I couldn't define it in one
Mm-hmm.
specific purpose, but it was like energetically complete.
Huh.
The purpose was fulfilled. It was
Mm.
done. It was just done. And yeah, so I just had to accept that that was it. And after however many videos, I was done.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. How did you feel like the next day
I
when you
felt
didn't do it?
I felt myself um like want to record a video on this thing, want to record a video on this thing, and then my phone wouldn't work for the first time in like however long, and it's a relatively new phone, it wouldn't work. And it just wouldn't work to make the Facebook Live video. And then, okay, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, maybe I need to habit myself and try and be more in alignment with when I share. So I waited till the next day and tried to share again, and my microphone broke.
Whoa.
And then, so I couldn't share for the next few days. And I took it into the store, and it only had a tiny, tiny, tiny particle of dust in front of the microphone. It was so
Oh.
but it was, I wasn't allowed to continue after that. So I got really strong.
Oh, that is so fun. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's like, nope, you've done what you need to do. It's okay. You can know that, yes, we set structures, we set plans for things, but part of the contingency plan is that it may shift and there's a level of be again, this kind of goes back to the paradoxical idea of everything that I look for and everything. Like for me, there is a certain amount of freedom that I get with commitment and with having structure. And then once that agreement has been fulfilled, it's now then time to let yourself live in a new structure, and the structure may be complete freedom and that it's done and that it doesn't need to be completed, quote unquote, in the way that we think. So there's just so many fun little nuances, and I can really see how that was such an interesting experience for you. And I'll be really honest, I very much have um, matches with that right now, because doing the podcast and doing the weekly YouTube videos, like I have found myself to be like doing quite a lot. Um, and I'm always asking myself, like, is this really in my integrity? And there are some days too, and I've talked about this as well, where it's not necessarily in my highest excitement to sit down and connect with Bella. But it is in my highest excitement to commit to the integrity of it, and um, to have that experience of like um, almost like the push through, right? The level of kind of what we're talking about, using your voice, do it, push through. Um, and it's really empowering for me. And I think a great reminder for people that it's a really subtle thing, right, of following our joy and then maintaining the structure of our integrity, and to just really pay attention for those little symbols or the reflections that appear, such as you had a sore throat the next day and then you went to go and film and you couldn't even film, and there's just that little speck of dust. Like, it's such a great story for just trusting in the unfoldment of the show, and always being aware of like looking in the dream and looking for the symbols of things, and then taking that as the opportunity to shift and go the other direction. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a really powerful story. It's got such obvious symbolism in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
um, so that leads me to opening the idea of, so we first met because you came to me for a session with Bella, and most people that are interacting with Bella have some level of curiosity within the extraterrestrial hybrid lineage, or have some level of curiosity within looking at the supernatural nature of things with these different densities and different beings. And I've noticed the way that you speak and the understandings that you have, and perhaps your perspective is like very much directly in line, directly like in the note of the bedrock of the hybrid message. And you're doing it completely as you, as what you said of what human really is. But I've also noticed that it's really cool that you don't lead with that, or you don't necessarily share that. Again, kind of going back to what you were speaking of, is perhaps your expertise is being able to offer these messages to people that are more so in the mainstream. So, in any way that you'd like to share, um, what has your journey been like, connecting, if you have been connecting with the hybrids or extraterrestrials or the elementals or that level of things? And then how is that, helped you be the Kelly that you are today? So again, just kind of casting a wide net, as I like to do, and then you can take it anywhere that you're excited to share.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, that's a pretty wide net.
Yeah,
Um,
because
I
it's
would
all layers
say
of gray, right?
exactly all different types of gray. I would say that I had very little understanding of the hybrid message or even the hybrids until earlier this year. Even when I connected with you, I didn't really know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reflecting on why I even connected with you and how I even found you. And I totally drew a blank on that. I have no
Hmm.
idea um, how that happened,
Fun.
or why it happened, but it did. Um, and I would say that I am able to I have a capacity to connect very deeply, but I don't feel that I'm here on this earth to connect a lot with extraterrestrials or with other forms of non physical, multidimensional
Mm.
entities or whatnot. I feel that I'm meant to be very much a human translator and translate these frequencies, but through the vehicle and through the expression of being a human. And I feel I have capacity to see and to connect and to feel, but that it's not meant to be in that direction. It's
Mm-hmm.
meant to be sort of from source or from the divine, whatever you want to call it, and translate that through more in a I don't really like a human way, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do have interests in our multidimensionality because we are all multidimensional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wherever we relate to that coming from, or wherever we attribute those frequencies to, we are all multidimensional human beings. And we do need to have an awareness of our multidimensionality so that we can express ourselves more multidimensionally, because that's how our source and our consciousness moves through is multidimensionally. But I do think it's helpful and beautiful to have an awareness to your sort of your origins more on a
Mm.
soul level. And particularly early on when you are having this feeling of like, who am I? Or feeling like a total alien on the planet or within your family or within your friends. When you start to feel, like you said, that visceral emotional connection to these aspects of yourself, it's really healing
Mm-hmm.
and really nurturing. And yeah, it really it just like slots things into place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's an understanding that really nurtures your level of wholeness,
Mm.
and it really helps you to move forward and to yeah, to accept all aspects of yourself and to be who you came here to be.
Mm.
So there's a pretty broad answer for
Oh,
you,
it's great.
but
No, and it's a very broad topic that I just kind of
yeah,
cast out, but it's to me it's so beautiful to see more of us, more people that may have precise connection to the hybrid lineage or may know that they're star seeds or may know that human is hybrid or what, however we want to slice it or translate it, what other kind of level we want to look at it. But it's so beautiful and so exciting for me to witness more and more people bringing through the actual applicable information that comes from the true space of divinity, of source, of wisdom. That, yeah, sure, maybe some of the hybrids or some of the ET families are saying the same thing, but it transcends that level of classification, right? It then goes into the space of observation of like, this is just how it works. And I think it's so empowering because then it puts the human representative, such as yourself, on the same status level as Bella or as, Bashar or as Arjun, or the same status level as Abraham Hicks or as the channeled quote unquote entities. And to me, it really is, again, going back to the paradox of it, it then makes the human even more what it really is. It makes the human then more of the supernatural nature that it is. It makes the human more of the true hybrid that it is. Like it's bringing it full circle, like not needing to lead with that or to even address it at all, of the different cosmology way we might say, of the cosmic origins, and just having that as a level of foundation or a level of subtle knowingness. Like, sure, we all come from the stars, we're all hybrid, like whatever, what are you going to do with it? And then, and kind of leaving it out of the equation, and then actually offering the true message of it. Again, paradoxically, it makes it more of the actual frequency in my translation of it. And so it's just so fun to see more and more people doing that. And in my experience, it wasn't that wasn't my path. That wasn't my continuing message of synchronicity of like, hey, this is your mission if you choose to accept it. Mine was very much, you're gonna lead with the hybrids, like you're waving that extraterrestrial flag like all day long. And so it's just so sweet. And so for me, in my perspective, like I can't help but kind of see it from the hybrid's perspective, or I can't help in ways from kind of see it from God's perspective, or not to like put like a status thing on, but it is in this way, like it's just so encouraging and it's so fulfilling to see it, because it from that level I'm like, oh, they're getting it, like the humans are like they are so fully getting it, like not getting lost in the story. Because what you're saying too, I love what you said, that it's there is a level of understanding of the soul origins, of understanding who we are, or understanding certain aspects of the story can be really empowering and give us a level of clarity. But it's if we get lost in that it becomes detrimental to ourselves or to people that we're aiming to be of service to. And I just feel again, and watching you and seeing you and hearing how you communicate, it's such an seemingly effortless experience of how you've kind of grounded the information. And again, it seems like something that's just so naturally you, which then leads it to just being this really fun, full embodiment of what human is.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's the new way, I think. And then as we continue to follow, excitement and joy, then the specific stories reveal themselves as needed when needed. Yeah, absolutely.
As needed, when needed. Exactly.
Yeah. So to dive just kind of like in the same realm of things,
Mm-hmm.
because again, going back to the idea of kind of it almost being like a buffet plate, right? Like there are all of these different dimensional levels of things, and as you were saying, it's not necessarily in your experience of your understanding of like your mission to be that. But I'm just curious, like in times, do you find yourself at any point kind of picking a little piece of the buffet from the elemental buffet or the hybrid, and kind of like, do you do that at all, or is it just so fully just grounded in your way of being? I'm just curious.
When you say pick a piece of the buffet, do you mean like receive a message or
Yeah, receive a message, or to consciously tune in to certain things, whether it's you receive a message from something that you may identify as like, oh, that was somewhat angelic, or oh, that was that was a guide, or that was, I'm just curious, is that part of your experience?
on and off for sure? I feel that I'm nearly always, well, I am always, I'm a pretty much a student of consciousness, a student
Mm.
here on earth, and I'm nearly always learning from a different teacher or a different source. And that is very organic in the way that it
Mm-hmm.
happens. And sometimes I feel that I am, yeah, receiving messages from the elementals or from nature or from an angelic realm, or I am I have an awareness that I'm working with a multidimensional or extra dimensional energy right now,
Mm.
or they're working on me. Um, and I have actually connected to a entity that comes through a friend who is a channel. It's called well, they're called Vagrian,
Mm.
and actually learn a lot from them and the information that they stream through, because they, and probably it's probably the same with you, like when you receive the, when you hear the way that they communicate or express, the way that they articulate in English, it actually shows you their perspective and
Mm-hmm.
how they come from this unconditioned way of being.
Mm.
And those levels of communicating is actually so important for unraveling your conditioned understandings, because you can see, oh, they speak without having that assumption, or
Mm.
oh, they don't have that layer of separation. So this is oh, that's how it is, and it really like informs you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that I'm, yeah, always sampling lots of different things from the buffet, taking a little nibble here.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll eat a big piece. Um, but it's really guided, and it's a
Mm.
really, I feel really lucky that I have a certain level of receptivity to
Mm-hmm.
just be moved in that direction,
Mm-hmm.
however it's going to be. I do feel that it could be more in that direction,
Mm.
moving down the line. I do feel my interest evolving in that way,
Mm-hmm.
and but I don't know what it's going to look like,
Yeah.
or if it's ever going to be. It's like you said, like this is your mission if you choose to accept it. Uh, so I could feel like it could be as well.
Mm, beautifully said. And I think it's so, again, nice just to be able to feel your translation of this, and just to feel what I receive as I'm just really feeling you speak is, again, this is something that I'm able to relate to, and something that I feel more and more people are relating to, and perhaps learning how to do, is to not need to know like where it's coming from, or to not get overly concerned with, is this real, or is this, what dimension are you in, or what being are you, or what timeline are you in, and just fully receiving the information of it. um and would you agree with that, that's kind of the space that you're able to enter into? Yeah. And it's something that really, I think, goes back to what we were saying, is that place of the whoa, I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't know, right? And being brave enough to, again, just be in that space of the whoa, I don't know, but like, what have you got? What's the morsel? What's the lesson? What's the applicable information? And I really do think that that evolves a level of mastery, to be able to be safe enough to not need to classify what it is, and just to know, okay, this feels great, this feels unconditional, the perspective feels amazing, my instincts are telling me this is from a love place, this is for more learning, for more integration, I'm on board, thank you so much, pun may be intended, I'm on board. And then, like, let me know, what the information is. Yeah. um and I think it's something that perhaps for those of us that are maybe like a newer generation, is something that is a little more instinctual to us. But I'm curious if you can tune into that part of you that is just focused on the information. Is that something that you have to consciously do, or does it just happen organically for you?
So let me think about that one for a second. So it's
Yeah.
the, I think it's interesting because it evolves. For me, I've started to, or over the course of the last couple of years, have a greater sense of self, so to speak,
Mm.
and my nature and my consciousness. So as you expand in your understanding of yourself, you start to differentiate less between what's me, what's this person, what's that.
Mm-hmm.
So as you become less
Mm-hmm.
identified with your own personality, then that doesn't matter so much to you.
Yeah.
What personality, whether it's physical or non-physical, it doesn't matter so much anymore. And but the other side of that is this level of trust, self-trust, to know that it's coming to you for a reason. You can trust it. It's okay. Because if you don't have that level of sort of confidence or anchoring or trust, then you really do need to have these additional support structures like, oh, I know it's from a reliable source.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, the Palladians, they're good guys. And these additional things that make you feel more supported in that. So, yeah, I would say that it's maybe it also just doesn't matter so much to me where it
Mm.
came from. And also, I developed over the last while. I don't know how long the while is, but this once you learn to discern the information through your own system, then it really nothing else matters if you just double check. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is good. Okay, that's resonating. That's aligned. Okay, cool. This is good information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then all the other things really are not so necessary anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However, perhaps if the person who's receiving the information, if it is relevant for them to become aware of the source of the information, then maybe it will be communicated. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel that everyone has a different it's everyone's different in their
Mm-hmm.
translator capacity or communicator or receiver or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did that answer your
Oh, it's
curiosity?
perfect. It's perfect. And I'll
Okay.
be really honest, like I realize to an extent what I'm doing while I'm talking, while I'm posing the question, but more and more I'm realizing there's this aspect of like my trickster nature that like
Oh.
says things in this like weird way to be like, okay, what are they going to say? And I love how more and more people are able to like cut through the web of like this thing that I'm spinning around in circles and these weird kind of questions that I formulate and just bring right through again that exact applicable beautiful channeled message from the heart of wisdom itself coming through the human, because absolutely it's that level of knowing the self and knowing the discernment, but just that level of what you were saying of more and more not seeing the separation in anything or anyone, and then it really just becomes the organic experience of not needing to classify things. And um yeah, I just loved everything that you said. So yes, you handled my tricky question expertly.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those listening, I feel it's just such a great reminder, as we continue to potentially meet new races or new levels of being or many different frequencies, just to be in that space of the discernment, of deeply knowing ourselves, of knowing our connection to God and to the all that is, and deeply knowing that it is of service to us, that we can set our intentions, yes, of course, but always it is by knowing ourselves and doing the internal processing and really diving deep into things and doing the quote unquote work that we then become a particular vibration. And then that anything that we attract that we can have understanding or communication with is going to be of a like integrated relationship. And then it becomes about, is the information of service to us? Um, and then on top of it, like you were saying, when and if it's relevant for us to get specific information, it is just part and parcel. It'll happen next. And so um it's interesting to hear that you're potentially seeing maybe like that door down the hallway for you, and you're like, okay, cool, like I'm great with what I'm doing and where I'm understanding, and at some point it may be relevant, but like whatever, like cool, we'll see what flows. And I think there's such a level of grace about that, and a reflection of the evolution of our consciousness, and you just being able to be like, oh, okay, we'll see. um again, it's just so fun, and I feel like it's so empowering for humanity. Um, and so maybe spinning it a bit into your your mission as this transformative coach. Um, what are, and I know it's very, very different for individuals or different clients, but perhaps like maybe let's look at the whoa moment, right? The like, oh, I don't know, place that we're in. And are there certain levels of beliefs or traumas or identification? Are there patterns perhaps that you're witnessing within individuals that you are helping and aiding, and within the collective? Are there certain themes that are coming up, or certain beliefs, or certain levels of conditions that are revealing themselves to you, things that you have noted?
Yes, for sure. And I actually feel that I'm sort of on this earth to absorb, not absorb, but to observe these things
Mm-hmm.
and to come to deeper understandings and to help us move beyond these things. And that's why I actually feel that self-realization and enlightenment and this awareness of the self, capital S, is really, really foundational
Mm-hmm.
for the evolution of consciousness, because if we need to go beyond the mind, we have to be beyond the mind. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And it is a case like the evolution of humanity, I really feel, is the evolution of our minds and the evolution beyond our conditioning. So if I see any pattern, it's that we essentially receive a, well, varying levels of core wounds or core traumas from childhood, and then they impress upon the consciousness, which develops these mental structures and these patterns, which then filters the consciousness through you into a different expression, which manifests into your life. So the pattern is seeing how it began, so you can resolve it or heal it at that level, that energetic level that it was impressed upon you at. So it really feels like the general pattern is just to like reroute your
Mm-hmm.
your mental pathways, um, and these patterns within people get expressed in so many different ways. It's so unique, and but a lot of them get expressed in the form of like insecurity, fear,
Mm-hmm.
doubt, or creating security in the form of things that look good but are actually not authentic or
Mm-hmm.
not who you're here to be, that are just completely about safety and well-being and the maintenance of sort of an illusory level of your experience. And there's no right or wrong, there really only is sort of the not self and the self and
Mm-hmm.
what's not you and what truly could be you. So the it just feels like the overall thing is the evolution from the not self to the self,
Mm-hmm.
and the evolution out of what's not me into what is me, which is, yeah, again, the microcosm of the macrocosm of
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here on planet Earth. Um, yeah,
Yeah, beautifully said. I love that. Absolutely beautifully said. And to reflect back, what I am hearing from what you said is the ownership and the expression of individuality. Would you agree?
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that's what you're meaning by in order to transcend the mind, or the personality, or the perhaps even aspects of the ego. It is about embracing the positive parts of our persona, the part that makes us uniquely us. And only once we fully accepted and danced and then continue to be that, right, to live that and express that, then eventually, probably one day, we'll transcend that, quote unquote. Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, it's
yeah,
beautifully.
pretty much. Like we all have our own unique blueprint and who we're here to be, and but it does get distorted or
Mm-hmm.
imbued with negative energies and negative charges from things that we haven't fully felt or fully healed or
Mm-hmm.
fully processed. And then once
Mm-hmm.
we're able to process these things and essentially alchemize these energies,
Mm-hmm.
we are able to move what's purely our energy through in a more I suppose pure is the right word, without
Yeah.
filtering it through more things. And then, yeah, embracing that. There's actually so much work in the acceptance of who you are, as
Mm.
opposed to the stepping into who you are, because you're already that. And a lot of things have probably happened to make you suppress that,
Mm.
um, unfortunately. To suppress that, to think that it's wrong, to doubt it, to feel shame about it. And yeah, once you really, really accept that, then it's able to really come forward and blossom. So it's, yeah, accepting that
Mm.
personality. And I see a lot of
Mm.
people um, really talk down about their human and the personality and
Mm.
all these kind of things. And that just makes me sad, because
Mm.
I feel that that's actually their negative, insecure ego trying
Mm.
to keep itself alive by talking bad about these aspects of
Mm.
themselves.
In a,
Um,
sorry to interrupt you, but in like a pseudo quote unquote spiritual way.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super sneaky the way these things can
Mm.
manifest. Um, I was listening to a video, and he was saying that we are our own worst enemy. Like, it's this constant battle between the higher self and the lower ego self, who's
Mm.
trying to keep
Mm.
you from expanding into this. And I really relate that to how I observe the process of transformation, which is essentially your consciousness expands, but to make space for the expansion, your mental structures or your conditioned mind has to actually crumble or move out of the way.
Mm.
So expansion is like this process of like expansion, but then contraction,
Mm.
expansion, and then contraction. So it is kind of like this battle between like
Mm.
the lower and the higher self. But what I and this is why transformation is scary for people, right?
Mm.
Because we don't know that that is the mind and the lower self and the old version of yourself
Mm.
falling away to make space for the new
Mm.
version. We think that these negative, um, frightening occurrences where we have to face some of these shadowy aspects, we think that that is actually telling us to run, to like run for the hills and to turn back and to not do it. Um, but actually, it's an indication that it's working, and we
Mm-hmm.
just need to persevere. And yeah, it's working.
Yes. Oh, there's so much in what you just said. And again, yeah, just it's so exciting to hear and receive and witness your translations of these concepts in really visceral, sensory, and logically applicable ways. It's just so exciting. And what I went to in terms of transformation is the expansion and then the contraction of it, the expansion and the contraction of it. And I think another way to potentially translate that is we have these experiences of like the ups and downs, right? These like peaks and valleys of like, oh, thinking that we remember everything, we get it, we're in this flow, and then we go into like a lower density expression. But part of the embracing of the journey of transformation is finding that passion and that fire and that excitement and being in those compression states, or being in the state of another way to say it is almost the shattering, or being in the state of the lower density vibration that gives us the information. And that, in ways of looking at it too, it's in ways a higher frequency to allow ourselves to go into a darker frequency.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Again, the whole paradox of it all, right?
I know.
And and really that's what we're seeing at such a huge level right now in our external realities, right? We're seeing a huge moment of this shattering and the compression of a exploration into a really dark, dense place that is actually where all of the lessons are, and where, you know, those lies are essentially, or the, you know, the darker aspects of the of consciousness itself. um and it's always then being able to be brave enough to look into our own recesses, and finding the passion of it. um and I know for me, what makes it sometimes easier to go into those places is remembering, that it's a scene, that it's a part of the show, right? That it's this, an actor in a journey, that, you know, we're just, okay, here's the next scene where I'm getting all of this stuff up. And for me, that's how I translate being able to have fun with the transformation. So, perhaps just diving into that piece of, it's actually a, you know, it's a higher frequency, it's part of the expansion and compression of transformation. And in your own ways, how can we maybe have more fun, or have the wielding of the fear, the alchemy, like you said, alchemizing the energy of fear to really embrace these transformations?
I think remembering that it's meant to be fun and we're meant to have fun is such a core part of it, and not taking it so seriously and not taking ourselves so seriously. This is a massive affliction that humanity
Mm,
has, the heaviness of the seriousness of it all.
mm,
And one time I really had what I feel is a great discovery, was I realized the word enlightenment. Enlightenment, like making it lighter on the inside. I was like, oh, whoa.
you had that discovery on your own. You had that channeling moment for yourself.
Yeah, I just had this realization that,
Cool.
oh, it's about lightening it up on the inside. Duh, like it's not called in heavy mint. It's not supposed to be heavy and hard and like just icky. It's meant to be enlightening. Um, so I realized, oh yeah, it's so much just about releasing what makes you heavy, releasing the
Mm-hmm.
things that you're carrying. Um, and yeah, let it be fun and let it be messy. I think
Mm,
this is a really
mm,
important one, is to let it be messy, because, and I can say this because I've been this way, it's really easy to get spiritually suppressed and kind of
mm,
polite and almost like
mm-hmm.
spiritually correct. A friend actually called
Mm-hmm.
me out for being spiritually correct and sort of suppressing myself and not really going deep into these things. And I remember hearing that and being like, no. Um, but it was so true. And there's a massive difference between um, your lower ego morphing into these spiritual tendencies and becoming a very good spiritual student that does the
Mm,
right things to get the marks, but actually getting down and dirty with those things that you
mm,
really need to heal and resolve is a completely different ball game, and that can be super super messy, and it's okay. Like,
mm-hmm.
the messiness is sort of the emotional energy or the anger or the suppressed things that really just need to be
Mm-hmm.
unleashed. So it's okay to I've had friends talk to me and hold space where I just was like,
Mm,
I'm sick of this, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of this, or
mm,
just like completely ranted, like friends listen
mm-hmm.
to me rant, or um just write things down and on a piece of paper
Mm,
and chuck it in a fire. Like it's okay to
mm-hmm.
just
Get it
let it,
out.
and not to judge it, and to just like, yeah, just let it out. And you don't need to understand it. This is something that a lot of
Mm,
people think they need to understand it. You don't need to understand it to feel it. You just need to feel it.
mm,
That's it.
mm.
Yeah, it is how it is. Like, who cares? Just feel it. It'll be good.
Yeah. Oh, that's so, again, so many levels and layers, and it just brings me this spark of joy to see us all, and to see and to feel people listening to this and be like, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. And just to take it as a gauge of our evolution and expansion as, perhaps maybe just, there's certain little nucleuses of our race that are like, yes, yes. And
Yeah.
it's, first off, I just got to say that you had your own um download and translation and understanding of the Enlightenment words, that was so authentically your own thought, because I think many of us have heard that through other people, and it's very, very true. But it's just, again, a really fun indication of who you are, and just being very effortless and very authentic in this very profound connection that you have. And um, it's just who you are and why you're here, and the way that it's just so much fun. And so that was really fun for me to hear that. And I think a lot of people also have such fun receiving that translation from you in this authentic way. And because you had your own remembering of that from source, or from your higher self, or from whatever it is, and then being able to tell that story in that way where it's undeniable that that was your thought, and it is the thought, and it is a true thought, but you heard it for you first. It came through you, for you first. um, and then being able to witness that authentic understanding, then again kind of gives people that little visceral sensation where we can feel it at a deeper level, to be like, oh yeah, I know that that's true. Intellectually, I know that that's true. To It's not called enheavyment, it's called enlightenment, so like lighten up. But now, after hearing you say it, we feel that in just a more visceral, expansive way. So it's just so much fun. And I thank you so deeply for what you are bringing through in terms of making it messy. And that's the level of expression, I feel, that allows us to find that state of the play, to or of the drama, right? To like allow yourself to express, to write, to get it out. And I think allowing ourselves to be messy, to not have the spiritual politeness or the spiritual correctness, again finding those paradoxes and everything, gets us closer to actually lightening up on ourselves, because we can enter into like almost like this like performance art place of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that also helps the child, or aspects of like the deep, deep, deep trauma, to like not go into places where we get lost in negative spirals. Like if we have like the understanding that like, oh, I'm getting messy, I'm making this fun, I'm doing art, I'm like gonna just write things out, I'm gonna dance, I'm gonna scream into a pillow, I'm gonna make my process a performance art just for myself, or for someone to hold space for me. um I think is so empowering. And again, and it leads us then to being able to have so much passion with the process itself.
Yes. I love what you said, making the process a performance art. Ah, that's actually it. It can be so much fun.
Yeah.
We have to enjoy the process. It's such a cliche of a thing, but you have to enjoy the process
Mm-hmm.
to get the most out of it. And it's really fun to just get down in the mud and roll
Mm.
around and to see what you find. And yeah, it can be a wild adventure. Yeah, like
Yeah.
all the good fairy tales go into the dark forests. So
Mm. Mm. Oh, that's well said. Absolutely. And I think that's a really beautiful part of perhaps who our soul group is, or those of us that even just use the terminology of like, I'm on this world too, right? There's then the connotation that there is a bit of my consciousness that is not of this world, and I'm here on this world too. And there's a level of us that feel like the mm, the bringers of the new world. Kind of feels kind of cliche, but I do think that is a level of what's happening, or we are the bringers of a new story. And a lot of times in those fairy tales, I'm trying to see if there is one where the character responds differently. but I can't think of any right off the top of my head. But most of the time, it's an experience of darkness. They're not really having a lot of fun with it, right? They're very much in the experience. It's very scary and it's very dark. And now as these new ambassadors or stewards or beings of service, we can, for ourselves, first and foremost, remember that we are in a story, that we're in an experience, to be able to have fun with it. And I love that idea of it being a story. Again, I think any translations or anything that we can feel to help us remember in those moments, especially during those times, is really empowering. And it's exciting too, to feel that, like, I think a lot of people, granted, it's then there's this whole other concept of we are shifting, different versions of our reality and different versions of our society based on our internal shifts and stuff. But I think in the consensus reality, there's more people that are understanding what it is that we're in, or knowing to a certain degree to allow themselves to feel honestly. So in your experience, I suppose this is kind of going back to the question that I asked earlier about identifying patterns, right? But part of your essence of observation on this planet with us right now is seeing those patterns. So have you noticed that perhaps there's patterns of people remembering this level of enlightenment, of lightening up, of play, of making it art? Are you seeing it also on the other side in terms of different patterns emerging for expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many wonderful things happening, and there's so many people remembering. And there's also, I'm still so shocked, but all the younger generations, like
Mm-hmm.
I met some beings from, they were born in 1998, which is so crazy for me. Um, and they were so awake and so
Mm,
rooted in themselves. And what I see is that every generation sort of has probably a different role in the
mm,
transformation on this planet. And I actually look at it generally from the context of astrology.
mm,
Um, the Pluto has like 12-year transit,
mhm,
so people born in those 12-year periods, like these generations, have a different transformative focus on the Earth.
mm,
So there's the generation, the Pluto in Scorpio, which are really, I think it's from 1984 or 1982 to 1996. That generation are really about the rebirth and the death and the rebirth um, for their place in transformation. The generation before that are more about it being about harmony and balance. And
mm.
so then the younger generation, like the younger generation feels so funny to say that, but from I think 1996 to 12 years from 1996
Mm,
um, are Pluto and Sagittarius. So they're really getting philosophical and
mm,
creative and explorative with the transformation that our generation has put in into place. So I feel that the different streams of consciousness
mm,
have different transformative focuses here on the earth. And um, so I do feel like I see generational
mm,
patterns. Um, but there's always exceptions to that rule. Um, but yeah, there's so many patterns right now for new ways breaking through like crazy. Um, and just this overall, one of my teachers would say thirst, this thirst going
mm,
on right now. And I really
mm,
feel that that's what it is. This thirst, this knowing, this also this new level of humility and
mm,
openness and um, willingness to accept that it's not working anymore and we need to
mm,
find a new way. And
mm,
we actually do need to come together. And um, this is how it's gonna. If it's already bad, like what could happen if it gets
mm,
worse? So people really are. There's this humbleness and this openness and this
mm,
um, yeah new willingness. I feel.
mhm,
Um, but I actually feel that it's we are really in the early phases right now of an emergence into something really beautiful, but it's really, really early phases.
Mm.
And but the signs are really promising. It feels really good.
Mm.
And yeah, I feel that so many of us are going through an initiation process
Mm-hmm.
and a deepening of our foundations and a deepening of our capacity to be anchored in ourselves and an expansion of the space we're here to hold. So there's that pattern for sure is probably the one I see the most is
Mm.
the initiation of
Mm-hmm.
many.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, thank you for that translation and the um I really like the that idea of astrology in particular. A lot of times, again, it's just my nature to always find the paradox of things and the double ideas of like, oh, that's, yes, there's very real truth to that. And then also that's a level of, a permission slip that we have devised. But there's certain things I think, especially when you look in the broader context of astrology, that you're like, okay, no, that's really relevant. Like that is, of course, like you said, there's exceptions to the rule, but that's something that is quite evident, and we can see it in these. Yeah, it is kind of fun because you and I are quite young, really, but there is a new generation, and there are
Yeah.
people that are younger than us that you can see the reflective quality just in their eyes. Like their eyes look,
Yes.
they look different. Um, and their ability to hold space for multiple ideas and and I and not get, again, kind of like as I was seeing and feeling within you, is not getting caught in the details, right, of how to like classify it, of being able to hold so many ideas simultaneously, and also going back to what you were saying before, really being the true multidimensional experience that is human. And we're all doing that. But I've met some individuals that are right now, like 17 to 25.
Mhm.
And these were individuals that I worked with at the restaurant. And so I would talk about all these different concepts, and they were just like right there. Or and maybe I had never even read esoteric information, or had never done any research, or have never, read spiritual books, or they're not coming from that level of needing to put things in their mind. They're just there. It's just
Yeah.
um and of being able to, again, very much like how I witness within you, is being able to pick and choose from the buffet and be like and just cut right through it. And it's so exciting and sweet to see those individuals. And yeah, I just had to reflect and dovetail off that, because I've met those people myself, and it's just like, it's so exciting, so exciting,
So
just, it's
yes.
so wonderful. And then also to bring a bit of our Pluto transformational energy into, owning the darkness of things, right, bringing in our generation's origin point in this way, and what we're here to do, is I think you said something really important. It's another idea too that I've been reflecting a lot and chatting with people, is there's a level of the deep ownership of like, this is not working in our society. Things need to change. And and again, it's the same idea of owning the darkness and the shadow and making it performance art within ourselves, that then it involves getting very clear and very honest with the things that are not working in our reality, and finding the ways to, I think, first off, have these conversations, right, so all of us can get more clear on, okay, how do we actually do this, how do we take all of the information that we have from these different realms, from our experiences, from our understandings, and continue to go through this early phase of what you're saying, this initiation process, to be able to find, perhaps not like the spiritual correctness, but like the spiritual authenticity of it, or the, like that needed slice. And I think I feel very deeply you're really astute in saying that we're in the early phases of this, because I think those of us that have certain understandings from our experiences are still learning and are still figuring out, like, okay, what exactly do we need to do, what stepping stones do we need to take, um and yeah, that's all part of the process of being, but it's having these conversations that I think are a big part of continuing to reflect, so we know what we actually need to do next. um and going back to the idea of the initiation phase, I'm just curious, because I know what my translation of that is. For me, I've been playing with a lot the idea of that everything is coming from our consciousness. So to me, the level of initiation is really kind of like accepting the holographic journey, or like the psychedelic experience. Um, and to me, this also then brings up um, the level of what you were saying earlier about sometimes it's actually the acceptance of our true self that is more challenging, right? That we keep resisting from. So yeah, just to dive a little bit deeper of your translation of what this initiation is, because I think you've really hit on something that's very powerful for many of us. So yeah, what is the initiation to you?
What is the initiation? It's for sure a roller coaster. And in essence, I feel that it's really this process of stepping out of the old and into the new, and that everyone has a thread that's guiding them home,
Mm,
but we have to allow ourselves to follow the thread and to actually be courageous. I feel like courage is a
mm,
massive part of it. To be
mm,
courageous enough to keep stepping in the direction we know we're meant to step in.
mm,
Because what will happen is there will be so many things that come up that get in the way. But it's not that they're in the way to redirect us, it's that they're in the way for us to work through them and to essentially slay those beasts so we can become the version that is continuously evolving into more of ourselves. So it's that every obstacle put on your path is put there for a reason for you to
mhm,
work through it. And that is, I feel that that's the initiation, is the acceptance of your mission, so to speak.
mhm,
Like you said, this is, like they say in Mission Impossible, this
mhm,
is your mission if you were willing to accept it. The acceptance of your mission, or the acceptance of the question that you have within yourself. So a
mm,
lot of these journeys start with a really burning question, and that question can be, who am I, or how do I make a difference, or who's God? Whatever that question is, everyone has one.
mm,
Everyone's got a really burning question inside themselves. And when you start to really accept the question you have, and then you start to, it's like that acceptance nurtures it. And
mm,
it's like the nurturing of the question and the questioner and the curiosity is what creates the fuel for you to, and the
mm,
momentum for the journey to unfold and for the answers to be presented to you. So the initiation is, it's just this journey. It is
mm,
sort of like a doorway you
mm,
step into a magical quest, whatever fun language you want to give it to make it more
mhm,
fun. It is the funnest thing ever. Um, like absolutely. And I do think the essence of it is essentially getting anchored into who you are here to truly be.
mhm,
And that's a process of, yeah, releasing all the previous anchors and allegiances
mm,
to things that you're not, or things that you were actually. It's not like, oh, this is the not self, this is not me, this is terrible, because you can vilify it then and judge it. And
mm.
no, that's just who I was. And then lay it down. It served me. Thank you for all the lessons. Um, but yeah, now I'm stepping more fully
Next.
into who I'm
Yeah,
here to be. Yeah. Next.
absolutely. Next, yeah. I
Onwards.
I love those translations and the imagery that comes through for me in terms of the quest of the question, that the burning question that we all have. And and what was it? It was, what did you, how did you phrase it? It was the acceptance of that,
Yeah,
just
it's the
the that
acceptance
gives the
of,
momentum.
yeah, like the acceptance that I have this question and
Mm-hmm.
I am this curious person who needs to know this answer. Because
Mm,
what can happen is a lot of us don't accept the fact that we have these questions because we are like, oh well, I should already know who I am. I should have
mm,
already figured this out.
mm,
Everyone else looks like they know what they're doing, so I must be wrong or I must be crazy.
mm,
Um, because there's a lot that happens in that acceptance of this
mm,
questioner, right? You actually have to break the mold of who you were supposed to be or who you
mm,
think that you were supposed to be, rather.
mm,
So yeah, it's the nurturing of that fact that you do have these questions that you cannot rest until they're answered, and then you
beautiful.
gotta find out the answers essentially.
Oh, I think it really gives me chills, and you have such an eloquent way of explaining it in very simple terms. Again, that is just so viscerally felt. Um, the nurturing of the acceptance is what gives us the power and the propulsion to be that courageous in the quest.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. So I feel like that's really quite a wonderful place to perhaps begin to tie up a little bow on the present, because that's really it. And I think that, again, you have such a lovely way of expressing your translations of these things that hits in a sensory way. Um, And so thank you for being you, really sincerely. It's been such a joy to connect with you today. Um, so where can people find you? Where do you have website, social media, or what are you perhaps if you're working on new things, or yeah, so here's the chance to plug yourself. Where can people find you?
The initial response that comes up is, "I'll be in the forest." Um, you can find me on. It's true. You can find me on social media. Um, my name is Kelly Broderick. Facebook and Instagram are the main things I use to share about the work that I'm doing, and yeah, that's where I share all my content on my personal page and on my Instagram. You can follow me or send me a friend request, or yeah, it's pretty basic and pretty personal, but that's how I do it at the moment. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Beautiful. So Facebook or Instagram, I'll be sure to leave the links in the description. And then also, yeah, I will ask you another question because I feel, especially after uh, the mention of the forest, I do feel the elementals, and I feel people that are curious. Um, so, of course, you are your own essence. You originate from source. But where did you grow up? Where are you from? What is the slight accent that we hear?
Oh, it's I sort of have a bit of a I've lived in a lot of different places. I was born in England, but I was raised in Ireland from 4 to 18. And my dad's Irish, my mom's English, but they both have English accents.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, lived in Asia and Australia and had an Australian partner. And I just have this complete hybrid of an accent. So, and I'm currently in the Netherlands. So it's different.
It's beautiful, and that's why. And I knew, I'm like, oh, that's the a combination of different things, as I've got a good ear for accents, but there is a specific lilt that you have that really only comes from Ireland. um
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It's quite for some people that are aware of different accents, it's to my ear, it's undeniable. And also, again, it is very much a sweet hybrid accent, but I could feel some people were maybe kind of curious about exactly. And I know that I don't necessarily like to put people in boxes or to be like, no, but there's also, like we were saying, there's a level of freedom that actually comes from understanding and having the identification of the story. And I do think that it is such a lovely part of your human essence that you are bringing to the world at this time, is that connection um, to these magical, mystical realms, to the forest, and to a level of what human experience is and all of the things that are in our DNA and the hybrid nature of it all. And then doing it in this very light, approachable way. It's to me, your accent and your voice, and as you were saying, this hybrid aspect is just a really fun symbol of the story that creates what Kelly Broderick is. So I wanted to ask that as well. Um, so yes, thank you again for joining me today, and I will leave the links below. And yeah, this has been just such a joy to share and to have a gab together in this way, because we haven't really met this way before.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun. And that's kind of what we would say in Ireland, to have a good old gab. So
Yeah.
I like that it's called Gabbing with Gita. It's just been really fun.
Yeah, it's good crack, right?
Yeah, it's been good crack.
Yeah. That's CRAIC for those curious, which is, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which is means like party, right? Or like good time, or
It means to have a good time. Like it just
yeah,
means like good
it's
fun.
cracking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it almost has the feeling, kind of, again, going back to the idea of like that visceral sensation. It is like a fire crackling or a spark, or, it's like
Exactly.
good
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you to everyone watching and being a part of our ever evolving community of expansion of what human really is. So let's take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Though our minds may be different, though our bodies may be different, it is through our hearts that we know our spirits are one. Thank you for listening, everyone. This has been Gabbing with Gita, another episode today with Kelly Broderick. My unconditional love to each and every one of you. Say goodbye, Kelly. Bye. Bye. And aloha.